Alright kiddos, here is our second video ever. By the way, y'all did a fantastic job today. I was really proud of the number of you who actually had your notes and had watched the video and how well you worked all throughout class, not just with each other, but just working and doing what you were supposed to be doing. I was very happy. I would love let's just keep that up. So now we're going to write equations of lines using 2 points. This is going to feel very similar to what we did today in class. And it's because it's the same formula, except you're not going to be given the slope. So the process is going to be a lot like what we did today in class. Okay, so we're going to write an equation that represents a line that passes through these 2 points, 0, 2, and 2, 6, and it says to put it in slope-intercept form, and then it asks us to graph it. They don't tell me the slope. They just give me 2 points, which means the very first thing I have to do... Bad color, 1 second. The first thing I'm going to have to do is find my slope, and I have to find my slope using this formula from way back when, because I've been given 2 points. So step 1, I'm going to have to find the slope, and so I'm going to plug what I know into this. I'm going to subtract my y, so I have 6 minus 2, and then I'm going to subtract my x's, so I have 2 minus 0. And then I'll simplify. 6 minus 2 is 4, 2 minus 0 is 2, and then 4 over 2 just simplifies to 2. So now I have my slope. Now that I have my slope, I have 2 points that I can pick from to write my equation of my line. And I can pick either point. You can use this point, or you can use this point. The only thing you cannot do is use the x value from this point and the y value from this point. You can't mix and match. You have to take the whole point as it is. You can't just decide on which parts you want to use. I'm going to use this first point and act like this one isn't even here. This is the point I'm going to use. So I'm going to go back to that formula from yesterday, this one. And I'm going to plug in my slope that I just found plus the point I decided to use. I always use the point that has a 0 in it if there is one, because it makes my life really easy. Multiplying by 0 is always simple. So I have y minus 2 equals 2 times x minus 0. And then step 1 after that, I've got to distribute. So this gives me y minus 2 equals 2x minus 0. And then it says slope-intercept form right here, which means I got to get y by itself. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And so the equation of my line is going to be y equals 2x plus 2. And then it asks me to graph it on the graph. So we're going to graph it. The y-intercept is 2, and so is the slope, which means from here I have to go up 2 and over 1. And plot my point, and then I just get to take and draw my line through those 2 points so that it is graphed on the line. So there is the graph of that line along with the equation in slope-intercept form right there. So let's do another example. This one says write an equation that passes through those 2 points, and this time it's asked for in standard form. So we're going to have to get the x and y together on the same side, but I'm going to start the same way. First thing I have to do is find out what the slope is. So I have to subtract my y's and subtract my x's. So I have to do negative 7 minus 1 over 0 minus negative 2, which is the same thing as plus 2. So negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8 over 2 reduces to negative 4. So I've now simplified it, and I've got to go back to what I did yesterday and pick a point and plug it and my slope in. I'm going to use this point because it has a 0 in it, and I told you I like the ones with zeros. So I'm going to go back to this mode, y minus y1, but in this case my y1 is minus 7, so this becomes plus 7. My slope is negative 4 times x minus 0. And then I distribute, so I have y plus 7 equals negative 4x minus 0. And I need to get this in standard form. Standard form, x and y are on the same side. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in slope-intercept because that part's easy. So I end up with y equals negative 4x minus 7. But to get it in standard form, I've now got to get this minus 4x on the other side. So now I have to add 4x here and add 4x here. And so in standard form, it's 4x plus y equals negative 7. And this is perfectly okay because I have all integers, don't have any fractions or decimals, and this number in front of the x is positive. So this is the equation in standard form. So it's very similar to what we did yesterday. So let's do 2 more examples. Again, I want it in standard form. This one says write an equation in standard form where the x-intercept is 4 and the y-intercept is -2. They didn't really give me points. I don't have ordered pairs. But if you remember what we know about intercepts, the x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. And so the point is 4, 0, because x is 4, y has to be 0. And the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. And so the point is at 0, -2, because y equals -2, which means the other one has to be 0. Now I have 2 points. I've got to find the slope. Change in y over change in x, so I'm going to do -2 minus 0 over 0 minus 4. And I'll simplify. This becomes -2 over -4. These negatives cross each other out, make a positive, and 2 over 4 is 1/2. So my slope is 1/2. Now you have 2 options here. We can do this the long way, and we can pick a point, plug it into the point slope form, and write our equation. Or we can go straight to slope-intercept, which is the y equals mx plus b. And the reason I can do that here is because now I have an m, and right here is my b. They told me the y-intercept. There's no reason to go through all of that mumbo-jumbo with plugging it into that long equation if I know the slope and the y-intercept. So my equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 1/2 x minus 2. The only problem is they want it in standard form. So now I have to convert this to standard form. So I have to get my 1/2 x onto the other side. So I'm going to start by subtracting 1/2 x. And so over here I have -1/2 x plus y equals -2. And I can't have this fraction or this negative right here. So I'm going to have to multiply everything by the denominator, which is 2. And I'm going to multiply by -2, so I get rid of the negative and the 2 at the same time. So this leaves me with 1x right here. And then -2 times y becomes -2y. And then -2 times -2 becomes 4. So in standard form, my equation is x minus 2y equals 4. That's the equation in standard form. So now let's look at it in terms of a word problem. We got a video store. They're having a sale on a certain type of movie. At the end of the first day, day 1, their starting point, they had 250 copies of the movie in stock, and at the end of the 4th day, there were 130 available in stock. They want an equation in slope-intercept that models the sale. We got to first figure out what our points are. So at the end of day 1, so day 1, there were 250 movies left. That's what it says right here. First day, 250. Then it says at the 4th day, there were 130. So after day 4, there were 130. I now have 2 points. I can find my slope, 130 minus 250 over 4 minus 1. And I'm going to pull out my calculator. 130 minus 250 is going to be -120. And 4 minus 1 is 3. And so that simplifies to -40. So my slope is -40. Now I have 2 points, this one and this one. I don't care which one you pick. I'm going to use the first one because it has a 1. And just like 0, multiplying by 1 is very easy. So I'm going to have y minus 250 equals -40 times x minus 1. Distribute, so I have y minus 250 equals -40x plus, because a negative times a negative becomes positive, 40. And it says in slope-intercept, so I just get y by itself. So I'm going to add 250 to both sides. And so I get that my final equation is going to be y equals -40x plus 290. There is your equation in slope-intercept form. Alright, that's finding slope with 2 points. It's not much different than what we have already done. The only difference is you have to find the slope instead of being given the slope. Very simple, very easy, very straightforward. We will practice this when y'all come to class tomorrow. Have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you then.